research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. An event in the presence and in honor of Deputy Ministers Dimas and Fragogiannis, in charge of innovation and economic diplomacy respectively. It's been now 4 years that members of the Greek innovation community have been meeting at the Consulate General or virtually once per month. And this team founded the Hellenic Innovation Network, 48 board meetings, hundreds of meaningful introductions and connections to young entrepreneurs, many high-profile in-person events at MIT, Kayak, work group here at the Consulate, 17 world-class webinars on cybersecurity, tech, AI, research, commercialization, VCs, biotech, and the wind of optimism that despite the pandemic, Greece is leaving behind the crisis and takes advantage of its diaspora's know-how, giving opportunities to the brain drain generation, facilitating foreign investment and tech entrepreneurship, which has an enormously positive spillover effect. None of this would have happened without Marina Hadjopoulos, the president of the Hellenic Innovation Network, who has been working tirelessly to promote innovation and entrepreneurship, and all the members of the network who have been helping us all the time. And I would like to thank Marina for all her efforts and leadership all these years, and for today's event, featuring Deputy Ministers Fragogiannis and Dimas, who crossed the Atlantic to be here today to support our efforts, the Hellenic Innovation Network, and to promote innovation and entrepreneurship. I want to recognize also our good friend Mark Sullivan, the Executive Director of Moiti, representing here Governor Baker. With Mark and the members of our Direct Flight Task Force, who are Marina Hadjopoulos, Giorgos Zacharia, Katerina Makatouni, Nick Mitropoulos, Stephanie Orfanos. For more than 3 years, we crossed the desert, working for a direct flight connecting Boston to Athens. This dream will become true on May 27, and I want to thank two persons who are here, Matthew Hatfield from Massport and Charlie Hsu from Delta Airlines, for their help and their efforts. Thank you very much. We are all very excited here. As Delta's Boston-Athens non-stop flight will facilitate business, academic research, entrepreneurship, and countless bridges between Boston and Greece. Before I leave it to Marina, I want to thank my whole team and two students from Emerson College, Coral and Gabriel, who are here as volunteers. Thank you very much, guys. Taking care of the videography and the photography of today's event. Marina, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming, and I first have to tell you, if you're wondering why I look like Rocky Balboa, on Friday I was rushing across the street for a very important meeting and I tripped on something and fell on my face. And if you want to know where I was going, it was to meet a Greek entrepreneur, Vasili Gregoriou from Advent Technology. So it's all coming full circle. This is all part of what was intended to be, I guess, in some way. Anyway, thank you all for coming, and thank you especially to our sponsors, Krasi for the amazing food that we're going to enjoy later, and Kleos for the Masticha cocktails that are downstairs. We really appreciate their support. The Hellenic Innovation Network has a mission to accelerate technological innovation and entrepreneurship in Greece to fuel the economy and create jobs. As an outgrowth of MIT Enterprise Forum Greece, HIN is a US-based nonprofit organization created with the support of the Consulate General of Greece in Boston to facilitate access to resources, partners, and best practices by building bridges between the diaspora and global tech hubs like Boston and the Greek tech community. We organize monthly CEO group meetings that are organized by Giorgos of Voda AI, and we broadcast educational webcasts. In fact, last year, we hosted 15 online events with over 33,000 views. We also host in-person pitching and networking events like the one tonight. And our goals are to get people connected, forging the kinds of strategic relationships that can ultimately help companies to fundraise, to sell their products, and to find suppliers. I encourage you to make connections during the reception. Also, if you register at hellenic.org, you can become part of the community and get connected with others in the ecosystem virtually. Now I would like to introduce Mark Sullivan, who's the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Office of International Trade and Investment. Mark?
So as introduced, I'm Mark Sullivan, and the Executive Director of MOIDI, Mass Office of International Trade and Investment. And besides just recruiting foreign direct investment to Massachusetts, I support companies going international, and also I'm kind of a liaison with the diplomatic community, which is frankly the most fun part of the job. Ministers, Fragogiannis, Dimas, Consulate General Stratos, Marina. So Marina is truly someone who puts her heart, soul, and face into Greek innovation. The Hellenic Innovation Network mission, similar to MOIDI, is to accelerate Greek innovation and entrepreneurship. Acceleration is going to be critically dependent upon collaboration between academia, business, and government, which is what we have here in Massachusetts. It'll be greatly enhanced with building global bridges, and it'll be a similar system as what Massachusetts is trying to do. And Massachusetts, we hope, will be one of those areas they go to. The Greeks are founders of the city-state relationship. Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Thebes, and Delphi. Therefore, it makes perfect sense for the Greek cities to have a relationship with the state of Massachusetts. Massachusetts has a very large Greek-American community. Many of them are in the who's who of academia, industry, and business. Many Greek-American leaders have worked tirelessly. Again, Marina, the Consul General, and the others that forgive me if I'm not calling you out, I recognize your faces, who have been critical in creating a soft landing where Greek companies can come back and forth to Massachusetts, and it's not a big deal for them because many have already done it, and that soft landing is there, the community is here. And soon, as the Consul General mentioned, you'll be able to fly between Greece and Massachusetts, frankly faster than the early Greeks were able to walk between their city-states. So again, another plus for us. And on a personal note, no one is happier than the direct flight between Athens and Boston. Because I can tell you, for the last 3 years, I've had several callings to come up to the State House, to the governor's office, to explain to the governor why there isn't a direct flight between Athens, and I can count the numerous emails that I would get from Marina, Stratos, and the other members saying, what's the latest with Massport? We need another meeting, let's go. So again, my hat's off. And frankly, other countries have the consulates that are here, we have 60 of them, have reached out to me and said, how do they do it? And I said, you have to call Stratos to find out. So the Hellenic Innovation Network, frankly, I think it's a time who's come. I think the key attributes of the network is focusing on accessing resources of not just Greeks, but of the Greek diaspora community. I think that HIN, its unique strength, is going to be like the airlines, the hub and spoke concept. So Greece as the innovation hub, but you have such a tremendous diaspora community, right? You're here, you're in San Francisco, you're around the world, and that hub is going to be able to reach out to that diaspora community, and it's going to be able to bring global innovation to Greece, but at the same time bring Greece innovation out to the remote hubs. So for Massachusetts, it's a win-win situation, and we look very much to be a part of HIN, the Hellenic Innovation Network. Thank you.
It is my honor and pleasure to invite Deputy Minister Kostas Fragogiannis, Deputy Foreign Affairs in charge of economic diplomacy. After 3 decades in the corporate sector, Minister Fragogiannis joined the government to attract foreign investments. He's a strong supporter of our innovation community and our efforts to make Boston a science diplomacy hub. He's here for the 2nd time in 2 years, and he's, among others, the architect of Volkswagen emblematic investment in the island of Attestiv, Greece, which has become a world model for smart, emission-free mobility. Welcome, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Consulate General, Mrs. Katsopoulos, Mr. Sullivan, dear friends, colleagues. It is indeed a pleasure to be here for the 2nd time and taking part in this meeting and presentation of ours today. First of all, congratulations to the organizers of this event. Stratos, thank you so much for bringing us all together in this room today. Marina, congratulations. You've done a phenomenal job throughout these past years in bringing together Greeks and Americans, young, ambitious people, to pursue their endeavors in the United States or in Greece. And congratulations to the Hellenic Innovation Network for doing all of the work that you did. I was here about 2 years ago, and I made a promise to the people that I had a chance to speak to at that moment in time that against all odds, I'm not going to ever tell you of what we plan to do, but rather tell you of what we did. So today, my colleague and friend Christos Dimas, the Deputy Minister of Development and Investments in charge of innovation and technology-driven projects, and myself, will tell you about the things we have done. We will tell you about results. We will tell you about the things we do, rather than to make promises for the future and things that we plan to do. So I will start by putting in a nutshell the things we do at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the level of economic diplomacy. We take responsibility for 4 pillars of the Greek government. One is economic diplomacy as far as bilateral relationship between Greece and other countries, including the United States. So I take particular joy and I celebrate with you today my being here in Boston, Massachusetts, following my visit to Washington a month and a half ago, signing a defense agreement and signing a strategic agreement with the United States, as we have been doing for the past many, many years. Second, it is the multilateral relationship of Greece in as far as trade and commerce and economic cooperation in the European Union and many other organizations of trilateral, quadrilateral relationship is concerned. Third, it is to take advantage of particular projects such as the Attestiv Smart and Sustainable project that we work on. And of course, the last is to support the Greek businesses to their internationalization efforts, as well as to attract foreign direct investment in the country. We have made quite big news in the past 2.5 years in several fronts. For one thing, it is the scientific diplomacy that we inaugurated in Boston 2 years ago. And by that I mean to bring together the business community with the scientific community from both sides of the Atlantic. And I'm not going to make any more comments in this regard, because I believe that my colleague and friend Christos Dimas is in a better position than I am to explain what we have done from a scientific perspective. Second, it is to change the image of the country. And how do you do that? How do you turn a country around? We used to find difficult in moments of hardship to borrow money. And there was a moment in time, not a long time ago, not 50 or 60 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, that we were speaking of Grexit, G-R-Exit. And I'm speaking to you today for G-R-O, growth. So how do you change Grexit to growth? You do that by doing the right things right, which is to bring the right people with a point of view of meritocracy. You end up making decisions that change the perspective of the country, and I will name a few. One thing is we decided to shut down all of our lignite plants and convert the country into a climate-friendly and environmentally friendly place. So all lignite plants of the country will be shut down by 2023, with the exception of one that will be shut down by 2028. And that automatically, not only does it do good for the planet, but it also creates space for the entrepreneurial community to come in and take the space they deserve in renewable energy sources. So these past 2 years, we have approved projects in areas of 4.8 billion euro, and there is 7 projects in the pipeline coming up in the next few months. So the sun, the wind, and other technologically advanced means of delivering energy to the people is in the process of being realized in the country. Along this line of energy, there is other projects, such as the natural gas, the regasification units that we are putting together in Greece, the TAP that brings Azeri gas to Greece, and from there, through the northern corridors to Bulgaria and the Balkans, to the northern Macedonian territory, and all of the southeastern Europe. The floating storage and regasification unit in Alexandroupolis, the possibility for companies from the United States or any other place to trade liquefied gas, the possibility to deliver smart and sustainable solutions, such as the one in Astepalia, where we are shutting down the diesel generators, putting together a hybrid system, putting electrification throughout the island. All of the vehicles will not be running on combustion engines, but rather on electric engines only. Astepalia is a place where mobility on demand is tested for the first time in the world, in the sense that you do not rely on buses anymore, but you dial through your app on your phone a number, and you get a leaf van that picks you up from the point you are and takes you to the point you want to go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it is the place where autonomous driving will be tested in 2026 for the first time in the world. So leapfrogging is the way that we deliver to the world the can-do. And that can-do is a sign of our commitment to deliver. And this is precisely why, with the support of the entrepreneurial community, the private sector, and the hard work of the public sector, we deliver what we promised to. And guess what? When that happens, then the country gets in a better shape. And at this moment in time, we borrow money at 1.3% cost per year on a 10-year bond, when 6 years ago, we could not borrow money even with a 10% interest rate. So we borrow money to pay back our debt, as we should have done from day one, and this is a sign of the trust that the capital markets show to the government of Greece nowadays. So I could carry on for the next 1 hour, but I think I will put a pause here, and I will be around to answer any questions. So in that spirit, I would like to welcome you all to our Consul General in Boston, Massachusetts, tell you how pleased I am to be here with you, and how happy I am to answer any questions you may have. Thank you so much.
So it is my honor and pleasure to welcome now Deputy Minister Christos Dimas, an elected member of the Greek Parliament from Corinthos, who is in charge of research and innovation. Minister Dimas has undertaken a series of initiatives promoting technology transfer, research commercialization, increase in research funding, and legislation facilitating spin-off companies and the big innovation center in Athens, among many other initiatives. Minister Dimas, welcome.
Thank you very much, Stratos, Mr. Sullivan, Marina, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor and pleasure to be here to address the Hellenic Innovation Network. I have a short PowerPoint presentation which I would like to share with you. Before starting, I want to carry on what Deputy Minister Fragogiannis said. In the last decade, Greece did receive a lot of negative publicity, and one of the main goals that the government did set from the very beginning, almost 2.5 years ago, was to change this negative publicity into positive news for the country. And allow me to say, from 2019, I think that from being the black sheep of the European Union, we now have references from many European and international officials saying that we have to follow Greece's example. We have to follow Greece on its pace, especially in terms of structural reforms that have been implemented. We don't claim to have done everything perfectly. Of course, we have a lot to do, but we do believe that we have taken important measures towards a much better direction. So I will be speaking about research and innovation. So I think there was a small change of data from my PowerPoint presentation, but that has to do from keynote to PowerPoint, from what I understand. But I want to say about the Greek innovation ecosystem. We have a very flourishing, an emerging, dynamic ecosystem in Greece. And up until recently, up until 1 year ago, the Greek state did not know how many startups we had, in which sector they were, how many people they employed, what budgets they had. So we didn't have information about the startup ecosystem. And when you actually want to implement successful policies, you must have data. And according to the data you have, you are capable of creating policies tailor-made for the ecosystem. So we started looking at best practices of other countries, what had other countries actually performed in order to deal with that. And we did see that in many cases a national startup registry had worked, but we wanted something more dynamic, more interactive than just a national startup registry. So we created Elevate Greece. Elevate Greece serves as the national entry point for the Greek ecosystem. And it has mapped the ecosystem, the startups, the spin-offs, the incubation centers, the accelerators, venture capital funds, companies that invest in R&D. But apart from that, we wanted to implement policies that would actually boost the ecosystem's performance. So we did create for the first time important tax breaks for angel investors. We created important tax incentives for stock options. We also ran important grants to support the startups that were affected by the pandemic crisis in terms of liquidity. And we also, apart from public policies, we wanted to put the private sector inside the ecosystem and start being more active in supporting the startups. So we have created a very important group of official partners of the ecosystem, top Greek companies practically in all sectors, and not only Greek companies. And we have all of the banks that are now giving specified banking products and tools to the Greek startups. We have Google that is giving free cloud services to the ecosystem, other multinational companies that provide access to their global innovation networks that they have to the Greek startuppers. We have mentoring services, business planning, but even in the Thessaloniki International Fair, which is the most important international fair in Greece, we did present the National Startup Awards, where we did give, from the official partners, important financial awards to the best startups and spin-offs of the country. So we have created within a a year's time, a very important tool to support the innovation ecosystem in Greece. And one of the main objectives of Elevate Greece is to increase the extroversion of the Greek ecosystem. So I would actually call you to log into Elevate Greece and see it. And I would like to play a video very quickly. Trying to do it. Can I actually have some help?
It all starts with powerful ideas. That elevate people to reach their greatness and shape the world with innovation and creativity. Elevate Greece is the gate to the innovation ecosystem, comprised of startups, investors, and community builders with passion, talent, knowledge, and a commitment to create a better future. Elevate Greece is the place we build the startups of tomorrow. Because where opportunity calls, the innovators step in to shape a better world with new technology and disruptive ideas. Be where progress is being engineered. For everyone. By you.
There's never been a more exciting time to explore the Greek startup community. Join now the Greek innovation ecosystem, Elevate Greece.
Dear participants, I am Manolis Kasseris, an intern currently in research and innovation, in the absence of Irene.
The message I want to pass is that we are very proud about our human capital, about our people, our individuals, their ideas, their companies, but we know that we were underperforming for years. And now we want the startup community, the innovation community in Greece, researchers, academics, entrepreneurs, talented entrepreneurs, to actually consider the state, the country, as an ally rather than being a barrier to their ideas and to their goals. So we want the innovation ecosystem to know that you can be extremely competitive at a global scale, even from Greece. And we have had important success cases in Greece. Apart from Elevate Greece, though, and the startup ecosystem, we do want to support R&D investments very much. And why do we want to support strategically R&D investment? Most of you know that, especially during the years of the financial crisis, we had a lot of talented young entrepreneurs and scientists leaving the country due to the financial crisis. So we had a problem of brain drain. Now, investing in R&D is a strategic priority because it does create well-paid job opportunities for the country, and it was a decision to try to build a very competitive environment for R&D investments. And yes, we did increase the tax rates, the super deduction tax rates, from 130% to 200% for R&D expenditure, making Greece one of the most competitive countries for R&D investments. In fact, during the pandemic, we had announcements of important foreign investments in R&D, including many American companies, among which I can name Pfizer, Cisco, EY, Microsoft Applied Materials, Amazon Web Services, Volkswagen, TeamViewer, and many other companies, and many Greek companies that boosted R&D investment in the country. So it's something that, according to the implication study we had performed with the finance ministry, this action would help increase R&D expenditure in Greece by more than 300 million euros per year. Now, again, we had a problem in the transition, but what I want to show is that one of our main goals, as I said before, is to increase R&D expenditure in the country. And from 2019 to 2020, we had the largest increase in terms of GDP, more than 17% in R&D expenditure, and we are very confident that this trend will actually continue in the following years as well. As I said, it is a strategic priority. Our goal is to reach almost 3% in the next 6 to 7 years, which is a very optimistic goal, but it's a goal that the European Commission has actually set for all of the EU member states. Greece was in the 16th position in 2019. We don't have the latest data at a European, full European chart at the moment, but we do believe we have increased our ranking in the last year, and we have also increased our rankings in very important international indices, including the Doing Business framework, the Global Competitiveness Report. We want to send a message that Greece is a very friendly destination for entrepreneurship, for business. There are real business opportunities, and we are not actually sending a message to the Greek diaspora to invest in Greece for sentimental reasons. We truly believe, we genuinely believe that there are important investment opportunities in the country. Before closing, I want to share with you 2 important projects we have. So up until recently in Greece, we didn't have a physical ground for innovation, and I'm quite sure, Marina, that this is an issue where we can exchange a lot of information, and we would need your expertise and advice. We are creating an innovation district in Piraeus, in Attica. An innovation district is a physical place where you have startuppers, spin-offs, companies that invest in R&D, academia, and it serves as a natural matchmaking ground in order to cultivate synergies for the production of innovative products and services. We found an excellent area. It used to be an important industrial area of Attica. The public tender has already began. It's actually finishing, hopefully, in less than 6 months. And it's a place where it will be the heart of innovation of the country. We truly believe it will become the heart of innovation for the Balkans and Southeastern Europe. It will have more than 2,500 people there, and the goal is to have the startup community showing the companies what products they are actually creating, what services they are capable of creating, and vice versa, the companies presenting to the startup community what exactly they are doing in their companies, what the direction is for the future, and therefore creating these synergies, as I said. Finally, we have a similar project in Thessaloniki. It's the Thesintech. It's a 4th generation technological ground. In this case, the business model is a bit different, and we hope to get companies established, set all of their R&D departments there, and around that create an innovation ecosystem. We actually believe that Thessaloniki has a strategic advantage of its geographical position. As you may know, Thessaloniki is very close through an international motorway to many European capitals, especially those in the Balkans. And as I said, our goal is to be a leader in the Balkans and Southeastern Europe, and of course have our fair share in all around the world. And finally, relating to our visit here in Boston and San Francisco, we recently changed the legal framework regarding the way that spin-off companies of universities and research centers operate. We have extremely simplified the procedure, and we are giving real and important incentives to academics to create spin-off companies. We are also supporting immensely the technology transfer offices for our research centers and universities in order to help the academic society to link research and innovation much more effectively. We have created innovation clusters, competence centers, so we are making a lot of progress. We are trying to not only keep up with the pace that other countries are performing. It's exactly what Minister Fragogiannis said, leapfrogging. We're trying to move decisively in order to make it certain for anyone who wants to be innovative from Greece that now they have the capability to be very competitive from their own country by attracting more investments, repatriating many of the people that left the country abroad, and reminding everybody that the financial crisis is gone with the wind, and now we have a new Greece which is very competitive on a global scale. Again, thank you very much, and I'm also available for questions.
Now I'd like to invite Giorgos Zacharia, the president of Kayak, to come up and say a few words. Oh, there it is. Giorgos is a Greek from Cyprus, and Cyprus is very much a part of our community, so we're especially happy to have you.
Thank you, Marina. Hi, everybody. So, as Marina said, I'm Giorgos Zacharia, originally from Cyprus. Grew up there, came to the US after my military service to study math and computer science at MIT. The original plan was I was going to be an academic. So tried to publish as many papers as possible, did interesting research. On the way, as I was doing my master's at the Media Lab, I got an arm with startups. I did finish the PhD thanks to my mother's grinia, but I've been in startups ever since. I founded a handful of companies myself, but the most interesting outcome was Kayak, after I joined Kayak very early on. And I had the opportunity to see through going public and also getting acquired after the IPO. I joined Kayak because of my machine learning expertise at MIT. And the idea was to help it do what it was already doing very well, slightly more intelligently. So through the years, I joined as chief scientist, but through that to become chief product officer, then CTO, and now president. I'm still a math geek, so that's my hammer, and I look for nails that I can fix with that. So most of my angel investments, and 4 of them are in Greece, are companies that use machine learning and data science as a competitive edge. 2 of the companies that I have invested in Greece have links with MIT and Boston. That was, I think, the old interesting initiatives to be looking for people with Boston and Greece or Cyprus links. As we move past the COVID crisis, the workforce is more mobile and more virtual. And Greece has some, and Cyprus has some, they both have some great competitive advantages. They have a strong knowledge workforce, very analytical, strong mathematical education, and the weather. So in the last few months, I explored hiring 4 different people, 3 from Greece and 1 in Cyprus, who wanted to stay there or actually move back to Greece and work from Greece and work for Kayak. Kayak has about 2,000 offices, 2,000 people, workforce all over the world. We were not able to get it done because it wasn't easy to employ somebody from our German or Swiss business unit and have them work out of Greece or Cyprus. So as we chat here tonight, I'd love to explore how Greece can be a more competitive, and the European Union overall, solve the issue of being employed by a business unit somewhere in Europe, but work out of Greece. Kayak has employees who live out in New Hampshire, but they work in Massachusetts. The tax issues there are obvious. It wasn't as obvious for us in this case. So that's it. Yeah.
So now I'd like to introduce Antti Tapiri, who will moderate a session. And if the deputy ministers could also sit up there. Antti is a data scientist at Amazon, and she will be asking some questions, but you are also all welcome to raise your hand and ask your own questions as well. So Antti, you might want to start by saying if other people.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicos Vekiarides, as Marina mentioned. I'm a data scientist at Amazon. I am so excited to be the moderator of this discussion today. So before we start, as Marina said, do you have any questions you would like to ask the minister or Giorgos? We'll have some time afterwards. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess my question has to do with nonprofits. Are nonprofits part of the rating system, or is it just for for-profit?
At the moment, we have our ecosystem according to Elevate Greece. Our ecosystem according to Elevate Greece has to do mostly with profits. It is though an issue that we are considering. As I said, Elevate Greece is a quite recent initiative. It's a one-year initiative, and we want to see how we can increase not only those that we have, that are included at Elevate Greece. We have specific criteria to who enters Elevate Greece and who doesn't enter Elevate Greece in order to differentiate between startups and newly formed companies, for example, that are not startups though. But at the moment we don't have it from non-profits.
Thank you for your question. I've been following you for a while on the internet. I'm a doctor. I work with European Union. I do European Center for Disease Control and Infectious Disease. My question to you is, because I've been following you and I've seen Elevate Greece and various other platforms, you only deal with fintech and tech, mostly now, too. We have a lot of AI and data science involved. Is there also a sector, is there some way to how would you relate also to the health initiative? Could you comment on that and how you see it?
Of course. I tried to show in the presentation, but perhaps it's too small a screen to show. Sorry, I'm going to another PowerPoint presentation. This slide, can we? Right. So this is a very short picture of the number of companies that we have at Elevate Greece, and it has to do with the percentage of companies according to sector. As you will see, most startups in Greece are in life sciences and specifically in biosciences, in biotech. This has to do with the number of companies, but even the data that we have for the number of employees in the ecosystem or the funding that they have received, biosciences is first by far. Very important sectors are also the purple one has to do with tourism mostly, and as you can understand that in tourism it's mostly entrepreneurs. It doesn't necessarily have to scientific-based. In biosciences, it's fully scientific-based. So in life sciences, it may include a lot of scale-up companies from universities and research centers. The third category has to do with environment and energy, which is a strategic priority not only for the government but for many companies and for the European Union. I would dare to say that the European Union has been playing a leading role in the last 2 decades globally regarding climate crisis, and almost 30% of the Horizon money, which is the main financing tool of the European Union, go to research projects around Europe to support activities that help deal effectively in a scientific way with the climate crisis. And then the fourth category is agri-tech. Again, Greece is a country that by tradition has a lot of agricultural production. In many agricultural products, we haven't linked it successfully. We haven't linked it successfully with innovation and research, like other countries have done, Israel, the Netherlands, but we are seeing an emerging ecosystem in that sector also. So if I had to say, according to the data that we have received, these are the 4 main categories, at least in number of companies that have been created and are operating in the last year.
Hi, thank you for this event. It seems like you have a very good plan on an important step of the process, which is how to actually ease the friction in implementing some of the novel ideas in terms of startups. I'd like to ask what's the corresponding plan in terms of generating some of these ideas. So when I look at universities like MIT, for example, a significant chunk of the income of the university is from patents and from past ideas. What's the plan for bringing something similar in Greece, instead of just having companies that already have the ideas in place?
You're absolutely right. First of all, that's why, as I said in my speech, we voted in Parliament last week the new institutional framework for the spin-offs, and this is important. It may sound very bureaucratic for many of you, but it was difficult for a lot of academics to find the legal procedure in order to create a spin-off company, which was time-consuming and difficult. And actually, Vasilis Grigoriou, who's here, was one of the initial members in the committee that started the discussion to simplify all of the procedure for the spin-offs. Most research centers and universities in Greece lack technology transfer offices. And if you want to be capable of creating companies that are viable and are competitive, you must help the researchers, the people that have the ideas but perhaps don't have the time or the means in order to transfer this idea, to develop this idea into a product or a service that has an economic ability. They need all of the support they may have. That's why we are establishing technology transfer offices throughout the country, in research centers and universities. And with this way, we believe that we are giving more tools to our academics to link research and innovation more successfully. Is that enough on its own? No, it's not enough. You need a lot of different policies. For example, Greece doesn't have a culture of a second chance. If somebody fails in a startup, I would dare to say that he or she would be criticized to a certain extent. This is a personal view. So it's important to also cultivate an entrepreneurial spirit to our community and also to the ecosystem, that a failure, okay, it's not something that you want, but it's something that does happen, and you must be capable of dealing with failure and actually taking advantage of the experience in order to quickly organize your second attempt, perhaps, and try not to repeat your mistakes. Exactly. So we are working on a lot of issues, but some of them can change with policies, with extra tools. Other issues perhaps need also a little time more, which of course we don't have. So we are taking allow me to say crash courses through entrepreneurship, not only as a government but for all of the society and especially the academic community.
Can we just, we will just move on and we'll have some time for questions afterwards. I just wanted to ask you, my first question is about, you mentioned before, Mr. Fragogiannis, about, I like the GR exit with the growth. And I wanted to get your thoughts on what changes have you seen in the entrepreneurship landscape relative to pre-crisis, please.
Okay, well, first of all, you are talking about a different place as far as the ability of the foreign investor to come towards Greece and consider the country as an investment destination. Enterprise Greece is the trade and investment agency of the country that takes responsibility for promoting the country abroad. So they are the marketing task force of the government. They present the incentives and the opportunities for the country. They provide fast-track services, and we give all permits within 45 days. If you qualify for a strategic or an emblematic investment. We provide one-stop shop services, so someone will stay with the project and the company and the foreign investor from the moment they apply to the moment they realize their endeavors and plans and manufacture or deliver the products and services that they're supposed to. There is a set of incentives, fiscal, tax, financial, human, whatever that may be, that will comply with the needs of the project. There is a reliable partner on the other side that will undertake the particulars of the project and do any troubleshooting if needed. And at the same time, there is political stability, which is very important. There is economic growth, as I said earlier. There is social cohesiveness, in the sense that the foreign investor feels welcomed into the country, and above all, there is the human capital that is well trained and very much willing to support the endeavors of the investor. So having said all of what I did, there is tens, hundreds of investments that have been realized or are in the process of being realized in the country, and that has automatically changed the attitude of the foreign investors as far as what Greece stands for. My colleague and friend Christos said earlier that Greece has changed from being the black sheep of the family of Europe into an investment opportunity. And I think that makes the hell of a difference in the sense that the perception is different. Let me just take half a minute more. If you ask somebody what to their opinion Greece stands for, they will tell you three things. One is the ancient roots of the country, the philosophy and the ancient Greece and historical aspects and the roots of who we are and what our ancestors did some 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago. And this is great. Then they will tell you about the second pillar, which is the natural beauty, the Greek summer, the food and the wine and the dining and the dancing and the music, and that is okay. But there is that third pillar that we ought to change, and I think all of us in this room have been consistently changing this past few years, is that aside of bureaucracy and red tape and inefficiency and poverty, there is that other Greece that is in Boston, Massachusetts, that is in Athens, Greece, that is being supported to changing the image of the country. And it is not my opinion. In the latest 2021 EY attractiveness survey, Greece moved 10 spaces up. It is among the top 10 European destinations for investments. And 75% of the people who replied to this questionnaire, to this survey, said in a positive way that to their opinion, this trend will continue in the coming years and Greece will become an even better destination. So I hope I've given you a perspective of what it is.
Yeah, I do. You forgot Portland, especially in the US, Kostas.
I did.
Giannis and the football.
Well, I especially talk about leapfrogging, but that frog is very big, so the leap is even bigger.
Cool. So just to take a step back here, we haven't talked about the Greek entrepreneurship, but we're in the US, and I wanted to also to ask Giorgos right now, like what exactly drove you to the US? Like I know you said you're not geek, right? So I think that applies to many of us in the room, but basically besides that, like why did you choose US?
Well, as a kid, other boys would write their soccer teams on the desk in school. I would write my team because that was important. I had to prove to myself that I was worthy of coming here. When I was doing my paperwork with the visa and when we were opening a remote back on the foreign currency bank account, I had to say how many years I plan to stay here. I maxed it out because I plan to stay here. So coming here and thinking that we would be an immigrant is very different from that it is today. Through FaceTime, you are close with the family. Travel has become much cheaper. Leisure has become zero cost. And this is even more beautiful than we ever anticipated. That you live here, the family is there, you see them more frequently than you see them if you live in another city in Cyprus. You have the links with friends across both Greece and Cyprus. I think it's a great time to be an entrepreneur, whether you are here or in the home country and across. And there was an earlier question about new ideas in Greece. I think there is no lack of new ideas. There is superb innovation drive among Greeks and great startup ideas coming out. Whether there is infrastructure or not, I think we have to make that easier from a legal perspective, from a finance perspective. Those tax incentives go a long way. The offshore tax incentives go a long way. Let's make it even easier. Corporations respond to these incentives.
Of course, and making life easier not only for the startups but for businesses, as I said, is our huge strategic priority. Because as I said, Greece has been underperforming in most sectors and was not competitive. Was not friendly for business. The message though now that we are trying to pass towards all the world is that Greece has changed and there are important strategic opportunities. And this has been proved. It's not something that a politician comes to a foreign country and actually says. This has been proved in the last 1.5 years with many investments that have been performed. I did name drop some of them. There are many more that have been performed and hopefully many more to come.
So follow-up question on that, like what do you think, like what elements do you think we still need to develop in this to become like a European?
Okay, first of all, the Greek ecosystem is flourishing, but it's in a seed phase. Most of it, not all of it, most of it. So we do need some time in order to mature. But what we do need in general, business planning is there is still more to do in terms of bureaucracy. Although we have implemented amazing things, especially within electronic transactions. But our goal is for all of the electronic transactions between the state and the citizens and the companies and the citizens And I think that the vaccination process in Greece has been named as one of the most successful in the world. We can do more in terms of the judicial system to have judicial decisions quicker, better. And of course, we are making a lot of improvement to change all of the legislation, make it much simpler, faster for companies that are considering to invest in Greece. Minister Fragogiannis very well explained about what enterprise Greece does, marketing the country abroad, and I think it's a successful example of the Greek state being capable to adjust and function according to private sector criteria. Regarding the ecosystem, yes, we do want to extend the incentives that we give to the ecosystem. So we would like to have more VC funds looking into Greece, more VC funds coming from Greece, and even investing in startups in the Balkans and Southeastern Europe. We want to lead the ecosystem in the Balkans and Southeastern Europe, and we want to see how we can make certain that Greeks know that they will be capable of being competitive from Greece. This is very important because you know it better than me, because some of you have left Greece with the financial crisis. The most important message we want to pass is that you can fulfill your dreams in the innovation ecosystem from Greece as well.
And if I may just add one thing, the digital services that have been offered and the pandemic did assist us in this direction has been tremendous. In the last 2.5 years, 1,300 different types of digital services or applications have been offered. And from 18 million services that were offered in 2018, we've gone up to more than 300 million in 2021. Even the vaccination certificate is through a digital application. So the can do is what I said earlier, that we actually do. And for those of you who fled the country 5 years ago, 10 years ago, to reach out to a better future in the United States, which is great, we are not here to pull you back into the country, but we are here to tell you what the country stands for today, and help you make your own decision as far as whether you would like to join a living style between Greece, Cyprus, and the United States, or pursue your business endeavors both in the United States or in Greece, but to have an accurate idea of what Greece stands for.
I can follow up on something interesting. Do you envision the judicial system being so rapid in decision making and arbitrary that companies will choose to handle their disputes in this? When contracts say, yeah, well, in case of a dispute, we handle it in Amsterdam or London.
That would be ideal.
There's a language component there. So
yeah, that would really be ideal, but currently, the first step in order to reach through that direction would be to increase the speed of judicial decisions. If we achieve that, actually when we achieve that, because the process of changing the judicial system has already began, then we can start discussing about effective judicial decisions in the country budget. I think it's a goal that realistically at the moment is not it's far away. I want to be frank with that. So the first step is to speed up the decision-making process. Then we deciding about what the next step would be.
So now that we're discussing about teams in Greece, like for you from the industry perspective, like what changes would you like to see, or if you have any challenges to being hired in Greece right now or in Cyprus, since there is an immense amount of talent?
Yeah, so the resistance of talent is a given, and my number one priority at my job is looking and incentivizing a talented team to be super productive. And what we've seen through the pandemic is that if people were given the choice and they had no family ties or other responsibilities to be head of their destination, they would be working in the Mediterranean anywhere and remotely. Most of the jobs, if not all of them, can be done remotely, other than the team interaction and business aspects. The actual computer work can be done from anywhere in the world. So what we'd like to see is maybe trivial for us to hire anyone in Greece with a European employers, wherever that might be, whether it's our London or the Greek headquarters. Tax incentives matter. When we decided to establish our European headquarters in Zurich, we had a handful of countries bid for our business, and we ended up there because it gave us, I think, 5 years of tax credits for losses that we could carry forward. So tangible incentives matter. So we'd love to see.
How important was physical presence before the pandemic crisis, and how much did that change the way that Kayak operated, especially in remote work, and to what extent do you believe that after the pandemic this is something that will continue to be present?
Yeah, so if you ask me before the pandemic, I would say it was impossible to work without physical presence because of the collaboration aspects. What we found out is that during the pandemic people are more productive in many ways. They save time and commute. They have to order invest communication and collaboration. So we transitioned as a company that we expect our employees to work from almost anywhere we can legally employ them. So physical presence is no longer required. People do the right thing and they show up when there is a meeting where they should be in person. We have people who live 3 to 6 months per year out of Europe and work remotely, and that works. And I think that's irreversible. Therefore, the pandemic really teaches that location doesn't matter, talent matters.
What would your advice be to the Greek government if we wanted to create more incentives for digital nomads that would enable companies like yours to employ people that work?
Yeah, so you have to figure out the cross-border taxation for employees. You're supposed to be taxed in your country of residence, but as a company, I don't know, you have to deal with the complexity of withholding taxes for employees. If that becomes easy, then it becomes more interesting. We could employ a PO firm that would handle that for us, but I wouldn't be able to give them stock, which is the key component of their compensation. So other companies that can make the decision now to put a lot of people in place can compete with more effectively than this one. But it won't be easier to start testing it and then grow from there. Our team initially was 3 people, now it's 107. So things can happen organically if there are infrastructure there.
I'm also looking at an example because I work remotely, so exactly what you said. So we just have 5 minutes. I just wanted to check if you have any questions.
So, hi, my name is Manolis Kasseris. It's a pleasure to see you again here. So my question is about whether setting up an office in Greece or just hiring people through agencies like Globalization Partners and others who have shops in many countries and then can hire people on your behalf. I'm curious about the balance between the two. I'm guessing with 170 force, you probably want to set up a...
Before the pandemic, we would have wanted an office in Greece. Right now, we won't hire them anywhere.
Yeah.
And I know Nicole as well. It doesn't solve the problem of compliance and stock granting and cross-border taxation in an easy way. It's doable, but it's not. If I want to have a person in Crete, a person in Cyprus, and 2 in Athens, it's not as easy.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I wonder if you can tell me before. So we talked about having all the people in the US to do a study of work. You want to not only can we but at the same time come back. I was wondering when you like plans and how can we influence someone while they have that thing, especially with the also engaged in the taking these problems that you mentioned. In the transportation part, no, I work in the US, but
we actually did legislate some important tax incentives to try to repatriate tax credits. Many people that were abroad, it seems to have been working to a certain extent, but of course we do realize that it's not the only incentive that could be given. So we are trying, I know that the finance industry is working on that a lot to try to see what we can do in order to increase that. But apart from that, allow me to add something that I do want to mention. Since we are in the US, one very important priority for the Greek government is the fact that we have a huge diaspora, not only in the US, but specifically in the US as well. And we know that we haven't created the bridges as a country that we should have had. So building more bridges with the Greek diaspora is a priority. The fact that the government legislated at last for the national vote, I think is an important step towards that direction. And I would call all of you to actually register to vote. It is a very important, not only symbolic move, but it does help strengthen ties between the diaspora or the Greeks living abroad with the country. And we hope that we will be able to pass the constraints of the legislation. It's actually not the legislation, it has to do with the Constitution, and enable full participation in the elections in the near future. But we will also have members of parliament in the diaspora in the next parliament. So I think that these are important steps, passing the message that the diaspora is part of the country. Now, in terms of research and innovation, we are in contact with the research community in the US. For example, with the Hellenic Institute of Advanced Studies, HIAS. We had a meeting today also with Attestiv Mr. Fragogiannis. We have adopted some of the proposals for the creation of a robotics institute in the country, taking advantage of the academic community in the US. We also are creating an institute for artificial intelligence with some of the most important academics, Greek academics in the US that are starting to share time between Greece and the United States. We recently signed a science and technology agreement with the United States in order to ensure that we have more bilateral projects in research and innovation. So we are working on it on many different fields, and we do believe that building the bridges between Greece and the diaspora is extremely important, and it's something that was a mistake with the Greek state that it hadn't happened earlier.
I would also like to make a statement on your question. Christos said it very well that it is a bridge. Because bridge
between the scientific communities, US and Greece, a bridge between the political communities, a bridge between the business communities, and vice versa. But I think it should also be a bridge of knowledge as far as what Greece stands for today. We would like you to be in the United States and pursue your dreams in the US so long as you know that this was a choice of yours. You did not have to leave Greece, because if you did, there is another Greece that stands in this place now. So we need you to understand what Greece stands for today, and then make your choice. Stay or coming back.